Sure, I'll do that. I should have memorized it by now, I don't know.
Staff all set? Yep. Okay, great. All right, then it's past 7:01 and 30 seconds. I'll call this meeting of the Albany Planning and Zoning Commission for Wednesday, October 25th, 7 p.m. to order. And
Roll call.
Commissioner Hudson, so sorry, is going to read the land acknowledgement. Thank you.
The City of Albany recognizes that we occupy the land originally protected by the Confederated Villages of Lishan. We acknowledge the genocide that took place on these lands and must make strides to repay the moral debt that is owed to this indigenous people, specifically the Ohlone tribe. We thank them for their contributions, which have transformed our community and will continue to bring forth growth and unity. The City of Albany commits to sustaining ongoing relationships with the tribe and together build a better future for all that now make this their home.
Okay, thank you for that reading. Next item on the agenda will be item 3, ex parte communication.
If we could do the roll call, please.
Sorry, roll call, yes.
Yes.
I'll note that 3 commissioners, Commissioner Hudson, McLeod, and myself, Commissioner Pilz are present, and Commissioner Waddy and Commissioner Momin are absent. Okay, thank you. Now we're ready for ex parte communications. Do any commissioners have ex parte communications to disclose? Commissioner Hudson.
I do. I borrowed a live vest from Stephanie Renier, and I bought some soap at her store this week. She's a friend.
Oh, okay. All right. Very good. And we'll move on then to the consent calendar, item 4, which consists of 2 items, the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes for the last meeting of September 27th, and an application that's been brought back to us for a second time for 915 Santa Fe Avenue. Would either my fellow commissioners like to pull one of these items?
No.
Okay. Is there any member of the public who would like to pull either of these items for discussion? Does staff see any hands raised online? This would be the time to raise your hand if you want to discuss either of the items on the consent calendar.
If you'd like to talk about the consent calendar, please use the raise the hand icon. No.
Okay. Very good. Would a commissioner like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar? Okay, well, let's...
You don't actually have to abstain. You may, but it's not a requirement if you weren't at the meeting.
I thought I'd have to abstain if I weren't present.
No, that's a common misperception. Yes.
Doesn't matter. Let's do it what's easy.
Okay, then if you don't mind voting yes on the minutes.
Yes.
Okay, then why don't we go ahead and have a motion. Would you like to move the consent calendar?
Move that we approve the consent calendar.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
And may I make a friendly amendment to use the corrected findings and conditions that were sent to you for 915 Santa Fe? Apologies. The corrected ones do have the findings for the use permit for the nonconforming setback extension.
Okay. Do you accept that friendly
Do
amendment?
accept that.
Okay, and seconder accepts the friendly amendment?
Second.
Okay. Then I will poll the commission. Commissioner McLeod,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson, and Commissioner Pilch. I vote yes as well, Chair Pilch, and that passes unanimously of the 3 of us who are present. Okay, on to announcements and communications. I'll ask staff first if they have any announcements.
No announcements today.
Okay, thank you for that. Any announcements from the commissioners?
None.
Okay, no announcements. Gosh, I did think of one announcement. And I'm not able to recall it, so let's go ahead and move on then. That was item 5. Item 6 is for public comments. This is for persons wishing to address the commission on an item that is not on the agenda tonight. And we'll give you up to 3 minutes. Is there anyone in the audience that wanted to speak? Nope, on an item not on the agenda. Seeing none, anyone online?
If you wish to speak on an item not on the agenda, please use the raise the hand icon. No one.
Okay, well then, we have no public comments. We can move on from that item to item 7, which is a substantive portion of our agenda. Discussion and possible actions on 2 different matters. The first one is 7-1, 1024 Curtis Street. Would staff like to take it away?
Great. So this is planning application 23039, design review for 1024 Curtis Street. This is a 3,500 square foot lot, a existing 1,151 square foot single family home shown in the center here in the street view photo. The project request is design review for first and second story addition that would result in a 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom residence, just over 2,300 square feet with a height of approximately 24 feet and a floor area ratio at the maximum of 55%. This is a site plan of the proposed project, and you'll notice, at least in the application drawings, the applicant is proposing to lift and shift the home to the south lot line to ensure that there's a conforming side yard setback on both the north and south property line. There's an existing non-conforming condition with the existing home. Here's the existing east front-facing elevation, and this is the proposed east elevation. We have received no public comment or correspondence for this project, and staff recommend that Planning and Zoning Commission review and approve the proposed project subject to the findings and conditions of approval. We've included one special condition in addition to the ADU conditions, that the front trellis over the entry must remain 50% open at all times in order to be excluded from the FAR calculation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. We will move now to any questions for staff from our commissioners. Any questions? None. Commissioner
One
McLeod.
question. Does our all-electric ordinance apply to this project being a major remodel? Just for the life of me, I can't remember where council left it. Was it?
I don't know, but that is something I can find out and let us all know at our next meeting.
Yeah, I remember
Okay,
exactly where we left it.
Okay, thank you for that question, Commissioner. I am also interested in the answer to that question. This is quite a large addition, so it would be good to find that out. If there's no other questions from commissioners, we'll open it to the public. Anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this item if you're in person, you may come to the podium, or if you're online, you may raise your hand. Did you wish to speak to this, or are you the owner or applicant?
I'm the architect.
The architect? Okay. Okay, thank you. So the architect is available if there's any questions from the commissioners. That's great to know. Do we have any hands online who wish to comment?
If you wish to comment on this item, please use the raise the hand icon at the bottom of the screen. And no one wishes to speak.
Okay, well, we'll bring it back to the commission. Does the architect happen to know if the Albany all-electric ordinance would be invoked by this project?
Should I go up there? Can I just talk?
Yes, please. You'll need the microphone. And if you want to add any additional comments about the projects, please feel free.
Okay. My name is Scott Galka. I'm the architect. It's a very good question. As I understand it, we are going to have to go all electric, except we're trying to get an allowance to let us keep the gas water heater and not go with an electric water heater. And maybe a gas stove. There's something in the code that allows you to get to be allowed to use that. So the owners are keen to at least get a gas stove in there.
Then I have a question. A gas stove is often something people request, but why wouldn't you want to go with a heat pump water heater?
Because they're a lot more expensive, and they take a lot more space than a wall-mounted outside water heater, which they already have.
Oh, I see. They have an existing one. Okay.
I've had an opportunity to look at our website, so I have an answer for you that's maybe a little more definitive.
Thank you.
Which says that new buildings and major alterations must be all electric. All electric construction means that there are no gas-powered appliances in the building, and the requirement applies to residential and non-residential new construction, newly constructed ADUs, and major alterations that trigger the fire sprinkler requirement, which is cumulative area of addition and remodel since 1996 that exceed 50% of the floor area.
Okay, and then can you remind us if all electric then means that any gas appliances anywhere in the residence have to be swapped out, or is it only in the newly constructed area?
There should be no gas-powered appliances, so I think that's what the exception would be for.
Okay, all right, got you. All right, thank you for that.
And just as I understood it, we can ask for the exception in the building permit portion. I'm not sure. It was unclear to me. My clients wanted me to try and pursue that, and if we weren't allowed to do it, then we go all electric.
Understood. Okay, so it sounds like we won't be reviewing that exception here, unfortunately. But okay, you have a question, Commissioner McLeod?
Yeah, basically looking at the plans, the north elevation has no windows on the ground floor and very few on the upper floor. I would prefer to see more windows there. That's a big blank wall, so what is your thinking?
Well, that was the side that was 16 inches from the property line, and so we weren't allowed to put windows in there, but then we pulled it back, but it's still pretty close to that neighbor, and so we were trying to be respectful for the privacy on that side. We sort of designed the building so that it opened up in the front and back and on the other side, and so bathrooms, we could put more windows there, and I'm sure they'd be open to it, but over in the process of going through the design with city staff, we weren't allowed to put windows there, but when we pulled it back, we would be open to putting windows there. But there is going to be a requirement for us to not have more than 25% openings on that side, so we couldn't put too many windows on that side.
But there is an opportunity to do more, I think, because you have two fairly small windows, so.
Right.
Okay.
Which were existing openings that we were lifting up.
They were the first floor that's going up, and then you're doing a slab construction.
Right.
And whole new ground floor.
That's right.
Okay.
Which elevation are you, is that south or north?
North.
North.
I'm pulling it up here. It's on the bottom half of sheet A4.
I guess there is one big
Point
window
two.
up there. But
Yeah, that's at the stair, and then we've got the kitchen on the ground floor on one side, and
Yeah.
then the other side is the stair, the bottom part of the stair. So we sort of designed it because we didn't think we'd be moving the building over.
Okay.
But we're open to exploring putting more windows in there.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for the architect? Okay. Thank you very much for your help. Okay, comments from commissioners then, besides the windows?
Well,
Anything else?
that's it. I would like to see more windows on the north side. You have an opportunity at the entryway to put a window on right there, and it would be probably a nice entry experience to have more light there, and then maybe one in the kitchen. I don't know. I would just encourage it, and I would say work with staff on that. I'm happy to support the project and have it move forward. But I think just that's a lot of blank. I imagine stucco. It looks like stucco, yeah, that's a lot of blank stucco. I think it'd be better visually to have it broken up a little bit more with a couple of windows. And otherwise, I think it looks like a nice project. And I encourage all electric. I don't see why not. Meets our climate action goals. I think induction cooking is better. It's much more energy efficient. And I think you are required to do it, yeah, from what I understand completely. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner McLeod. And any comments, Commissioner Hudson?
Nothing more to add.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just say that I agree with your comments about the windows. So if you want to make a motion, you could make a motion with the addition that staff work with the owners and architect to add more windows to that north elevation.
Okay, be happy to. I move that we approve item 7-1, planning application 23-039 at 124 Curtis Street for approval with the condition that the architect and applicant work with staff to place some additional windows on the north elevation to help break up the big stucco wall there.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I will poll the commission. Commissioner Hudson,
That's aye.
Commissioner McLeod,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. So that application is approved, and if there are story poles up, they must remain up for the 14-day appeal period. And thank you very much for attending. All right, let's see what the next item on the agenda is. I believe it's item 7.2, which will be 830 San Carlos Avenue. There it is right there. So staff, take it away.
Yes, this is a design review application for 830 San Carlos. It is planning application 23-041. The project request is a 101 square foot first story addition, a new 334 square foot second story addition with the roof deck above. It's located at the rear left southwest corner of the existing single family home and will result in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,667 square foot home with a maximum height of 27 feet, 6 inches. Here is a site plan that shows the location of the addition at the rear left with all setbacks conforming. This is the front elevation that shows that the style is a modern style addition to kind of a traditional bungalow. However, it kind of picks up on some of the accents of the existing architecture, including the roof pitch, even though it's opposed. And it uses some of the same siding materials as well as roofing materials, just laid differently to differentiate but complement the existing architecture. This is a building section that shows the existing ground level, which is existing. It's not going to be graded. The first story, the new second story with the rooftop deck above. And finally, the rendition of the project as viewed from the rear of the building. And staff recommends that the commission review the project and approve it subject to the findings and conditions of approval that were presented tonight.
Okay, thank you, staff. Any questions for staff from commissioners?
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Hudson.
I noticed that some of the material on the addition, especially the upper part, is blackened steel. And one of the things that is often overlooked with regard to heat island, cities being heat islands, is the albedo effect, which would be to reduce or increase the reflection and less the absorption, which would use a lighter color than black. Black would increase absorption and increase the heat island effect. I'm wondering if there's some consideration that could be made to either the materials or the paint that's used.
I will let you know that the applicants, who are also the designer team, are attending virtually. So I think if you would allow them to answer that question, that would be great.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
Could we have them also speak about the
Yeah.
project?
Ray, would you be willing to speak? Hello, Ray. For some reason, we can't hear you. Shoot. I am. Virgil, Rainey. Ray, I'm going to try promoting you to panelist to see if that will help.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, great. Oh, so the concern was the heat. What we're planning on doing is an open joint siding. So it would act as like a rain screen, as also as shading of the exterior of the skin. So air would pass through the skin. So ideally, the heat wouldn't transfer into the building. It would basically collect on the siding, and then the shading would be providing an open air gap between the actual building skin and the siding. Does that make sense? And it would be like a dark gray, but it's a darker color. We wouldn't go with black.
So I'm understanding that it's facing west, the back of your house is facing west. So it would collect more heat, is that what you're saying? And that's a desirable effect?
No, I'm saying is the open joint siding. There's gaps between the siding boards, and so air passes freely through the kind of cavity of the wall. So it's like a rain screen. So there's like a inch to a half-inch gap between the siding material and the waterproofing of the building. And so air would pass through that, and it wouldn't transfer heat into the building envelope.
But I believe you're talking about the black and steel portion.
Yes, the black and steel
not
portion.
Not the siding, or is that a part of your siding?
It's
So there-
notated C on the pictures that we got, the drawing that was just shown.
Trying to think. Oh, that. If you go did you have the elevation? I think it's item C, which is black and steel. That was a planter on the roof. That was an herb garden. That would not be the entire cladding of the skin of the building. But we're flexible on that materiality.
Okay.
Do you have the north elevation available? Item C is at the top of the roof. That is just that's the material for the planter on top of the roof.
Oh, I
It
see.
wouldn't be-
It's the very top
Yeah, it wouldn't be the
portion.
majority of the building skin.
Oh, okay.
It's sheet A02.3. But yeah, we can get back to that. There we go.
Yeah, item C is, that's just a small portion on top of the roof, acting as a planter.
Okay.
Just that little,
The color of the house is going to be, the addition is going to be black, correct? Or am I misreading this?
It's going to be a darker gray.
A
gray.
darker gray, okay.
Painted gray, correct? Painted wood.
Yes.
I'm understanding.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner McLeod, questions?
I guess, yeah, maybe we could hear the applicant's kind of narrative. I read it. It was interesting, but maybe you could present it yourselves and tell us what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to create a modern addition. We're trying to preserve the existing kind of California working class bungalow at the front. So we try to keep everything towards the back. When you walk the site, you walk on the street, you barely see the story poles. So we kind of pushed everything to the back. We wanted this modern addition to kind of contrast and complement the old architecture to the new. We also put it on the kind of the southern corner of the house so that we can minimize shadow casting on any neighbors. And we also wanted to limit how much of the footprint we wanted to work on because we'd already done a remodel of the rest of the house, and we just kind of wanted to, we haven't worked on the kitchen, so we wanted to redo the kitchen. So we used that corner of the house as the opportunity to do the addition. And we really needed a stair because we had this existing basement that we couldn't really access. And so we wanted a stair to get down there so it'd be more functional. And then a stair to go up to a master suite, which we have 2 kids. Both kids are living in the same room, so we just kind of outgrown the house. So we need another bedroom.
All right, great. And I have one more question, just about the roof garden. It's a little hard to read. You did a good job with the modeling, but it would have been nice to have had a sort of an aerial view of the roof seating or roof garden. It's mostly plants from what I can see and not much seating or?
Yeah, do you guys have access to it? So the roof plan, I don't really have a rendered roof plan, which I probably should have done, but the A01.3, so you can see the area where there's a roof hatch, and then that's the access. Then there's the area shown as decking, and then there's a thin planter surrounding that decking area. That's kind of a raised planter for like an herb garden. And then the rest of the roof would be kind of a non-accessible green roof, because we really wanted to do a green roof. We also are envisioning plants growing over the parapets that kind of soften the edge of the roof.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
Okay, great, thank you. And I have no questions at this time. There's no one here physically in the audience for public comment. Anyone online?
If you wish to speak on this item, please use the raise the hand icon. No one wishes to speak on the item.
Okay, no public comment online, so I can bring it back to the commission for discussion. Would either of you like to kick it off? Okay, Commissioner McLeod?
Sure. I really would like to compliment you on your graphic presentation. We get a lot of presentations here, and it looks like building permit applications, which I'm really kind of getting tired of. And, we don't need to see all the boilerplate and everything else, but your renderings were good, your sections were good, the model was great. The only thing I would have liked to have seen would have been maybe a roof shot of that roof deck so I could understand a little better, but I have no problem with it. And I have to say it's very refreshing to see somebody doing something a little different. We get a lot of, I hate to say it, but boring boxes, and this is not a boring box. This is much more interesting. I like the whole effort. I support it. For my project, I would probably reverse the stairs to the other side of the kitchen, to the interior core, and then use the south wall for more windows to bring in more south light, more natural light, especially in the wintertime. And you've maybe played around with it a lot, but I would maybe even flip the roof pitch the other way so that you are facing more open to the south, which would also perhaps help your plants with more sun. But I would recommend doing a daylighting study of your kitchen, because it looks to me like it might be a little dark, and then the full wall with the sink on it, it might be a little dark in that space. You really only have the rear opening and then the little side windows at the stairs. But overall, I think it's a great project. It's really refreshing to see something a little more interesting, a little different. So I'm very happy to support this.
Okay, well, my comments are going to be that, did I ask you for your comments already? Okay, thank you. That it would be a question, then actually some questions for you, Commissioner McLeod. So I didn't catch the lack of windows in the previous project. Thank you for catching that. But I did look at the south elevation, and I saw that there are a few windows, but they're at the edges, and so there is quite a bit of blank wall there. Wouldn't you want to see more windows in this project as well?
I would agree with that. I mean, if it were my project, like I said, I would put the stair on the other side of the room And then that wall would be much more open to windows, which would be more beneficial to the project or to the spaces inside, being south light. And
That's a large change for them to make. So say they didn't make that change and they kept the project as is, would you still think that those 4 windows were adequate?
you know, it's a good point. You know, I would prefer to see more windows on that side, and with the stairwell there, it's difficult to do it. And then the upper, the pitch of the roof, I mean, I'm not going to say they have to redesign it, but if the roof was pitched the other way, I mean, it would then reduce the height of the wall on that side. But I would have to ask the applicants if they would be willing to do that. I don't know. It's a big change. I'm not.
The applicants have raised their virtual hand there, so you want to hear their response to that?
Sure.
Please go ahead, Mr. Williams.
Yeah, I just wanted to, you guys all bring up a lot of good points. A lot of those kind of design iterations we started with, and we ran into circulation problems with putting the stairs towards the interior. And ultimately, the easiest thing for us to do was put it on the exterior. We also wanted to make, we get along with our neighbors and we wanted to maintain privacy. So we put the stairs towards the exterior, and knowing that we weren't going to have a bunch of windows in the stairwells, but we wanted to bring light into both the kitchen as well as the second floor. So we put windows at 2 sides of every landing, right? So you'll see 4 windows on the south face, but then there's 2 windows facing east and 2 windows on the west. And that really draws in light from those stair landings, which is kind of the compromise. There's also a large tree that is right up against this addition that you don't see in any of these renderings. And it's going to be like right up against the building facade. So we could invest in more windows in the stairwells or even on that facade, but it would be right up against vegetation.
Okay, thank you. And then the only other question as well, a question for you, Commissioner McLeod. We previously approved a project similar to this where the front of the house was being preserved in its original style, and there was a addition towards the rear that was in a modern style. And I went along with it, but I was a little surprised and didn't question it at that time. And you and Commissioner Waddy were in favor, thought that that was a fine idea. But I did want to ask the question this time. It's not what I would do if I were doing the remodel. I would keep it all the same style. However, you seem to think that the diversity within the one residence, within the one building is fine. Could you just speak to that a little bit more about why that works for you?
The principle of contrast, that we don't have to design. We're not locked into following whatever design is there. That's it's part of the creative part of architecture. You're able to express yourself differently than just slavishly following what you've already got on site, I think. And, I think they're experimenting a little bit, and I like that. I appreciate it. And I really have no problem with the contrast. I've done it myself on various projects where it is in the rear sometimes, and it can be completely different feel, completely different texture to what's there. And I don't think it's distracting necessarily from what's there. What the character from the street, like the applicant said, is going to be the same. And they're kind of free to do what they want in the back. And I would actually, if I were me, I would probably push a little further, maybe different materials, not wood, maybe some other kind of cladding or metal cladding or something to really reinforce the contrast. So, there's no law that says you have to design in the same style as what's there. I mean, I think people should be free to express themselves, and
It might be in our guidelines, but I'm not sure about that, that is a guideline that might be followed. However, I'm going to defer to the architect on the board here and not object to that. Like I said, it wouldn't be what I would do, but then again, I'm not an architect. And I also want to make it clear that I think diversity is good in all things, including architectural styles. So I don't mind modern architecture on our streets whatsoever. So, all right, I just wanted to quiz you a little bit about that. Thank you for filling that in, filling me in on your thoughts. Great. Then I think it looks like we don't have a consensus about this, so I don't want to make it necessarily part of the motion of approval, but if it were me, I would also try to fit a couple small windows on in the middle of the south elevation. Could even bring even more light into that stairway and break up the mass of that south wall, but not a requirement, just a suggestion from one of the commissioners. So, would some yes?
No, I mean, I could agree with that. I think maybe a couple more windows in that facade wouldn't hurt at all.
Okay. Do you want to?
It is pretty minimalist in its presentation as is like that. I mean, it's a little tricky to work the windows into the stairwell, but I think some small square windows maybe in the middle could do it. Let's see, it is tricky.
Yeah, small window up high.
They have to go in that section with the stairs, and it's not easy to kind of place them. Well, we're looking at a section drawing. Can you pull that one up?
Which one?
Planning Manager Mendez, what's the number on this?
Oh, A03.1?
Yeah, I think that's looking, well, anyway,
This is the south elevation.
yeah, that's looking through the stairwell. Those are, I guess I'd have to say there's a difference between being minimalist and being kind of blank, like the previous project. I mean, this one looks much more intentional to me than the previous project that had a lot of stucco, and it just looked like it was just not thought about.
Right.
So in that sense, I can appreciate this one a little more than the one before. And I think overall,
in terms of the windows,
and overall in terms of square footage, I think there's less solid wall on this than on the previous project.
towards the end.
There's the elevation, but it was a section drawing, one more section drawing.
There we go.
I think that's the one or close to it with the, not sure which way we're looking there. I think we're looking towards the interior.
Yes.
Yeah, but the outside wall would be on the side that we're not looking at.
I mean, it's the same as the south, you're looking at the south elevation with that wall.
Yeah, but it's then, you see how the stairs cut through the middle of that? It would be hard to place another window in the middle of those walls.
Yeah.
You have the two outside spread out.
Right, you'd either have to place it at the bottom, you'd have to replace it at the bottom, either be at the very top of a wall, but then it would be.
Yeah, it's really hard to do it.
Feet would be, yeah.
Yeah, that's really an inappropriate place for the window.
Yeah, so maybe it doesn't.
So
work.
then it would be lower in relation to the others or something.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think it would be a little tricky.
Yeah. So maybe would there be any ornamentation that could perhaps, or anything?
Well, I suppose those windows could be made a little bigger, a little wider too. That might not hurt.
Okay.
Um,
That's,
Would be my suggestion, my other suggestion.
okay.
Because I think they are 2 feet wide. They could be, 2'6" or something. Create a little less solid space.
Okay.
Um,
Do
Something.
you want to make a motion for approval with the, with specifying an increase in width of those windows? Or do you want to leave that as just a suggestion?
Personally, I would leave it as a suggestion, but if, we could ask the applicant if they're willing to do that, if that's up.
Sure. Applicant, Mr. Williams, what do you, you do have your hand raised. Okay. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, I think we would be willing to look at it. The only thing is it's literally 5 feet from our neighbors, and it just looks at their brown wall. So adding much light into that stairwell, I don't think would actually happen, because it's kind of like a corridor anyways.
And maybe what you're also saying is that the neighbors don't, or the neighbors don't see that wall? Is that what you're saying as well? Or they do see that wall?
They do not.
It's their bathroom.
Well, it's their bathroom window is the only part that, and the rest is a wall.
Okay. Did you have any more questions for the applicant?
Well, would you be, I mean, if they said they'd be willing to consider it. I'm not going to push it too hard.
Consider which, the window width?
Making the window, instead of 2 feet wide, make it 2'6".
So that's our suggestion.
not-
It sounds like Commissioner McLeod is not going to put it in the motion, but the suggestion is to make those windows.
Yeah,
a little
I
wider.
don't think privacy is going to be a big issue. You're not really standing there at that stairwell very often. And these things kind of work themselves out, and if there's a tree there, that probably helps as a screen as well, so.
Okay, thank you. Who would like to make the motion then? It sounds like we've got consensus to approve this, so. Commissioner McLeod?
Okay, I will make a motion that we approve item 7-2, planning application 23-041 at 830 San Carlos, with the recommendation that the applicants work with staff to make the four, that's the south-facing facade windows wider to help break up a little bit of the solid space.
Okay, yes.
Second that.
All right, I'm having to lean on you two commissioners to do all the motioning and the seconding tonight since there's only 3 of us, so thank you for that. We do have a motion and a second, and if there's no further discussion, I will poll the commission. Commissioner McLeod?
I vote yes.
Commissioner Hudson? And yes from me as well, so that project is approved. And if there are any story polls up, they need to remain up for 14 days of the appeal period. And thank you for being with us tonight, and good luck with your project. All right, so that takes care of, I think, the last substantive item in our agenda. No new business. Our next meeting will be November 8th in a couple of weeks, and so we will have that meeting.
We are almost, most likely, going to have that meeting.
Okay.
To be determined tomorrow for sure.
Okay.
The second meeting in November will definitely be canceled for the, you
Thanksgiving
can enjoy
holiday.
your Thanksgiving early.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. And if there's nothing else from staff or commissioners, then I will bang my virtual gavel and say we are adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Thank
everyone.
you, everybody.